Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our SEC Weekly Preview. Joining us, as always, our co-host and founder and grand poobah of 100 Yards of Football, Vincent Turner. He's on your right. And in the middle is former Georgia Bulldog Juan Daniels. And he is not only a former SEC player, but now he is a scout / administrator / personnel director / GM and owner of so many different opinions that we value them greatly. Juan Daniels. Vincent, we'll start with you today. The SEC begins their 11th week. NCAA football, obviously, as well, the 11th week. There's only one non-conference game this week, and that is the Citadel heads to Ole Miss. But the way the standings are right now, the way the NCAA has now instituted the first of the rankings that matter in terms of the playoff, the rubber's meeting the road in a very special way. Big games this weekend, but obviously everyone from here on out is completely important to the contenders that have a shot to make it in the NCAA playoff.
Playoff time, baby. The pretenders and the believers. The SEC, this is what it's about. You got the schools who we thought was going to be there, the Georgias, the Alabamas. So there's some great football right down the road, and it's ready to get it going on. And it's going to start on Saturday in Stockfield, Mississippi with the Georgia Bulldogs. But what I like about it is that we don't have to figure out who's going to be playing in the playoffs. We don't have to figure out who's going to be playing in the championship. Everybody playing everybody now. So it's elimination. It's almost like the NFL playoffs. Back to you, Hart.
And Juan, you experience this as a player, and you're also seeing it now as you're going to games every week. Your son Ashton is a star now at Auburn. Even if you don't have a chance to make to the playoff, even if there's a couple teams in the SEC that they don't have enough time, they're not going to make a bowl. But the ability to beat your neighbor and to punch him in the face and maybe eliminate somebody, that's always been a part of football, and especially because of the pride and the aggressiveness, if you will, of the SEC play from top to bottom. Talk a little bit about, even if we don't have a chance to make it to the top, we're going to do everything we can to make sure you don't make it to the top.
Yeah, that's what's going on this weekend with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt right now is on the cusp of having an opportunity to make the playoffs. So we have an opportunity as Auburn Tigers to ruin their opportunity to make the playoffs. And then a couple of weeks later, you've got Alabama, who they have a very good shot of making the playoffs. But if you give them an additional loss, where does that seed them in the playoffs? And you look at SEC football right now in the top 25, there are 9 teams in the SEC. So 9 out of 16 teams are in the top 25 and still have an outside chance of getting into the playoffs, depending on how things fall a little bit later on in the season.
It's just the way that they go this year, but it's the haves and the have-nots in the conference. And I think the writers and the folks that vote on who has an opportunity are seeing that the talent level, and Vincent has said it all year long, there's no school that has the talent that the broad range of every SEC team has. Yes, Ohio State has great talent. Don't get me wrong. They have more 5 stars than anybody else. But from top to bottom, the conference itself is just loaded in ways that there's no other conference that is even like it. And all these guys are competitive, and they're playing for a spot to hopefully get to play on Sundays.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, if you look at the Big Ten, they have 8 teams. So it's 9 with the SEC, 8 with the Big Ten. So it's very, very competitive. But I'm biased to the SEC. I think if you put our 9 against their 9, or even 8 versus 8, we come out on top big time.
Yeah, Vincent, he's just echoing what you've been saying now for years. That the balance and the parity between those two conferences is a Big 12, as an ACC conference. Are they going to start pounding the table and say, hey, we need more representation? Or do the numbers speak for themselves loud enough for every writer to go, there isn't anybody in the second or third tier of the ACC that's anywhere close to the second or third tier of the SEC schools?
All I can say is the facts. The NFL draft, the players. I mean, we could say other conferences, but the SEC is the number 1 conference in America, and it's always going to stay there. If you think I'm lying, look at the coaches that's been fired. I don't have to say no more. the mic has dropped. So that must tell you there's expectations when you come and coach into the SEC. And the window of opportunity as a coach, you can say this, but from the rest of my life, you're only going to have at least 3 years to bring your program into the college football rectum. It's no other conference, man. No other conference. I mean, it's that simple.
All
The
right.
coaches the coaches have been fired, and the money is great in the SEC. And right now, it's must see TV. When you look at the Southeastern Conference right now, it's almost like watching the Dallas Cowboys week in and week out. Some good is going to happen, some bad is going to happen. A coach going to get fired, a player is going to be favored for the Heisman. It's that simple.
Well, let's take a
Back
look
to
at
your heart.
let's take a look at what's going on this week here in the SEC. We're going to start with the bye teams. Arkansas, South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, and Oklahoma all have weeks off. And I think for Oklahoma and Texas especially, the higher of the rankings there for these ones. And Texas, by the way, they're 7-2. Oklahoma is the same at 7-2. But Texas is 4-1 in the conference. Oklahoma, the Sooners are 3-2. Juan, I'll start with you. Of all the teams that probably need a rest, I think Oklahoma does. Offensively, they still got to be able to turn it on in a way that they haven't been really able to do with any consistency. But when you look at some of the others, the South Carolinas, Arkansas is down at the bottom. Tennessee, let's not forget about them. They're 6-3. It was a rough loss last week, but just give us your perspective in terms of, how does Texas at number 11 and Oklahoma at number 12 take advantage of this time, the due diligence, the rest that the players need, but the ability to turn it on for the remaining 3 or 4 games that we have for the rest of the season?
For Oklahoma, it's about John Mateer. Can John Mateer heal? He had a broken hand. So this gives them an extra week to kind of heal, extra week to kind of get them together. It also gives Brent Venables his defense an opportunity to rest a little bit to make this run. For Texas, hey, this is a time where you can reflect to say, hey, we didn't start off so hot at the beginning, but we can finish strong. We still have an opportunity. We were a playoff team last year, and we can still go and push and be a playoff team this year, and then maybe make a run. And hopefully, for them, Arch has the opportunity to kind of live up to the hype. He has played very well as of late. So those two definitely can benefit from this bye week.
Yeah, obviously the players need a little bit of time out. They don't. It's not off time necessarily, but practices are much lighter. Sometimes you're just in shorts and shells. You're still running around and making sure that you stay in shape. But especially for the guys that have a bruise, that muscle tightness, some of the fatigue factors, your sore joints, and everything that's a part of, the football experience. You just get a chance to kind of rejuvenate a little bit and recharge your batteries. For the coaches, though, it's completely different. They're getting a lot of other work done that they didn't have the normal time to do throughout the week during a regular season. Recruiting will increase. The amount of calls and letters that you're going to write to kids will increase. The due diligence that you do on your own self-scouting, where you figure out, gosh, on 3rd and 5, we always run to the right. Why do we do that? Let's figure out another plan. And in some cases, Vincent, we've got coaching changes that are taking place. Talk a little bit about, all the importance of those things combined.
Well, it's always tough when you have a coach that's let go in the middle of the year and sends your team into a scramble mode a little bit. And I think right now, as we was talking about before the show, these schools has fired their coaches. What about the coaches coming in? What players are going to keep? And that's very important because there's going to be a lot of change in your program, whether you like it or not. And to me, that's the biggest thing. And then making the right hire. That's very critical because you see Auburn. I might think Brent Key is a fit, but a lot of people out there saying John Summerall is a fit. Then you're looking at Arkansas today. They're talking about they might hire Ryan Sutherfield. To me, it's all about right now. You're trying to end the season on a positive note, but who's going to be the right fit in keeping the players that's already there in your program? Back to you, Hart.
And one thing but thank you for bringing that up. It reminds me that I haven't really spoken about the athletic director and how much more that guy's going to do. If there's a coach that you're looking at, Juan, The other coach might be working right now and may have a bowl game to get ready for, or if they're in the playoff, if you're going to go reach for a high-end DC or somebody that's on a big name school that's going to be in the playoff, you can't get a hold of these guys, and you have no idea when their season will be over. And how do you bring in them and gain employment and have them sign a contract when they're busy doing other things? There's a lot of implications here in terms of the timing and the ability to get some T's crossed and some I's dotted the way that you want to.
Yeah. Hey, well, I'll tell you this: money talks. Money definitely talks. You look at Dan Lanning, that's out at Oregon. Before they went to go and play in their bowl game, he just took off on Georgia and said, "Hey, I got a team to go coach." And the same, with a couple of defensive coordinators and even offensive coordinators, they'll say, "Hey, I need to go ahead and get started right now with this recruiting. Recruiting is vital." Look at Dan Mullen. He didn't recruit very well at Florida, and next thing you know, they kind of ousted him because he didn't feel that was important. But getting the right coach, the right fit, I think Vincent made mention to it earlier, is very, very key. It's very important. And again, taking your time to make sure that you don't rush and then get somebody, and also somebody that fits the culture. Unfortunately, you have teams that'll go outside of the SEC to go get a coach, like LSU, who went outside of the SEC. They go get a Ryan Kelly. That was just not a very good culture fit. And so you just got to make sure that they fit the culture. The SEC is a completely different animal. And so to Vincent's point, even with Arkansas, these guys that they're going to go look at, I think, the coach for Memphis would probably be a good hire because, Memphis is not too far from Arkansas. But does he know what it takes to be an SEC coach? That's going to be tough.
Hey, Juan, do me a favor. You made a very interesting point there where you may not fit in an SEC locker room or in the administrative building. It's a different animal, different monster. Explain from your understanding why that would be. How can a coach from Ohio State go to Florida and say, we're going to do things here the Ohio State way? The kids are going to say, no, we don't do anything the Ohio State way. We do it the Florida way. If you go to LSU, we do it the LSU way. Is that a real enough factor with the fans, with the administration, and with the players and coaches to where it would be a problem for somebody coming in from outside and saying, nope, we're going to do it this way? Would they meet enough resistance to where, that's a very serious consideration for the hire itself?
Yes, 100%. One of the things that you'll understand, and I've had the opportunity to understand, is, with my son going out in the Pac-12, we also played in the ACC. There's just something different about South, football in the South. There's something different about SEC, and it's more tradition. And it's more like you talked about, like the fans and everybody that's involved. They have a way that they're just not going to budge. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You take a look at an Alabama team who they never change their uniforms. That's how stuck in their ways that they are. So if you are not about the Alabama culture, about a lot of these SEC teams' culture, then you're going to be met with a lot of resistance, and I don't see you lasting very long.
Yeah. And if you say pig suey, Vincent, that means something in Little Rock and Fayetteville in a way that nobody else gets. But that's our culture. That's our battle cry. War Eagle is a lot different. So is Roll Tide or Go Dog Sick 'em. Everybody has their own cultural thing. We respect you, but we still want to kick your butt in a way that maybe some other schools don't want to, because it's all of us. There's an old expression: you fight one bean, you fight the whole burrito. You're fighting a whole stadium full of people that do it differently when you're going against the culture of, even with the Wildcats or the Gamecocks. It doesn't matter where the standing is. It's us versus them. And Vincent, you got to experience that. Obviously, I just said pig suey. I mean, it's a different world in the SEC, and you better either show up to fight, or you better just bow down and say, we don't have that. And we wish we did.
It's always expectations. At the time I was in school in Arkansas, they was in the Southwest Conference. But when they moved over to the SEC, I knew then it was kind of graduating to big time football. It's just big time football. Football is a religion in the South. I'm sorry, Mr. Steve Travers, it's not a religion out there in LA. I know you love the Trojans, But football is a religion down here. Ever since I came into this world in 1960, you got to think about this. When I came in this world in '60, Brett Bryant was coaching at Alabama. The next year, when I turned 1 year old, he won his first national championship with Pat Tramble. And from that standpoint, it's been so many great players that came through that conference, so much great pride. And then think about this: go to a SEC tailgate. You're gonna have that great food, them crabs, that homemade apple pie. Look at you, Harper. Them ribs, them baked beans, that catfish. They don't know what I experienced when I was going up to see Tennessee play back in the mid '70s. So it's all great. Everything starts down here in the South with football. I'm sorry, Big Ten. Y'all had some success. Y'all won the last two national championships, but that's going to change this year. I guarantee it. Now, I don't know what school going to come out of SEC and win it this year, but I've got some money on Ole Miss, Alabama, or even maybe Texas A&M. Back to you, Harp.
All right, so brats and burgers and brisket. No, I'll have it if you just want to have some catfish.
Catfish, ribs, homemade ice cream. See, one, know what I'm saying. Apple
Yes, I do.
pie, pecan pie, homemade ice cream. Hey, if you want to talk football, we can beat you in cooking too. Let me take you down to Mississippi and you get some real food down there.
Yeah.
To you, Mr. Travers, because I know you watching. Back to you, Hart.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the football and not so much the homemade ice cream, the peach pie, and everything else that's associated with the catfish fry that's going to be a part of Ole Miss football. All right, here we go, guys. Let's look at the first game this week. University of Georgia. They're ranked number 5 in the country. They're 7-1. They're 5-1 in the conference, so they still have a couple of games left that will be non-conference. But Juan, as a former Bulldog, let's first talk about Gunnar Stockton, 1,776 yards, 12 touchdowns. Those aren't the best numbers you're going to see. They're 63rd in passing. They're 41st in rushing. They average 32 points a game. They give up 19. You're winning by a touchdown and a half, well, almost 2 touchdowns every game. And we still haven't seen Georgia play their best, have we?
No, I don't think so by a long stretch. But I tell you what, though, this is one of those trap games. Mississippi State going there to Starkville. I've had an opportunity to play. Those cowbells are ringing. It's loud. It's crazy. This is basically the national championship for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. If they can pull off this upset, and I promise you they're going to do everything that they possibly can to win this game, then I'm going to tell you what, the goalpost is definitely going down, and it's going probably to the nearest body of water. So you can best believe that. But again, it's going to be a matter of, can Georgia be consistent in their starts? They have not started very well this entire season. So can they jump out on the Mississippi State Bulldogs and then put them away early, or are they going to let them linger around and then give Mississippi State an opportunity to possibly win this football game?
5-4 in Starkville. They're only 1-4 in the conference. They've got Georgia, Missouri next week. They get a week off, and then they got to play Ole Miss. All are ranked. They're number 5, number 22, and number 6 right now, respectively. Well, what do they have to do? Offensively, they are 47th in passing. I was pretty impressed with that. I didn't know they were that high. They're 66, which for a team that's lost as much as they have, they average 32 points a game. By the way, a little bit more than what Georgia does. Not much, but they give up 24 points a game. So there is a differentiation. But on paper, it's not that big of a difference. And I think you're right, Juan. Just one more quick comment from you. If they play a really solid game and make fewer mistakes than they've been making, they got a chance if they just try to out-fundamental Georgia, right?
Yeah.
They got a chance.
Yeah, and they've got those. They've got the crowd behind them. It's going to be a packed game. Those cowbells are going to be ringing, and all it's going to take is 1 or 2 plays, and next thing you know, they have an opportunity going at the end of the game to win this game. Again, if they come out smoking hot, which Georgia unfortunately has kind of struggled in the beginning of the game, and they get a pretty comfortable lead and then just kind of hold on to it, that's also a possibility as well. So again, this is one of those sneaky games that Georgia really has to play, don't play down to their competition because, historically they've always been better than Mississippi State, and they just have to come out and dominate. But this is a scary game.
Yeah, Vincent, Georgia averages 184 yards a game on the ground. It's not a great number, but against all the SEC defenses that they played against, I attribute it to obviously a great offensive line. The running backs are moving the ball, and the commitment from the coaching staff to stick to the run no matter what. Because if you can do that in the SEC, if you can run the ball, especially late in the game, you got a chance to win.
Well, that's Georgia's bread and butter. That's why they won 2 national championships. They put a lot of offensive linemen in the National Football League. They're starting right now. Tank Ratledge, Amir Mims. So this is Georgia's bread and butter. But y'all brought up 2 good points. Number one, Georgia has not played their A game yet. For some reason, they've been able to play on, I want to say play on the edge, but they won those football games. But I'm going to tell you this. Think about this, gentlemen, as I give it back to you, Hart. Mississippi State had Texas on the ropes 2 weeks ago, had a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. Mississippi State had Tennessee on the ropes, had them down 14 going in the fourth quarter. Then they beat Arizona State that was nationally ranked. And all those games happened right there in Stockville. And if you ain't been to Stockville, let me tell you something. It's a nice venue because it's a small town. The stadium is kind of like on the end of the campus. It's a weird kind of configuration. And it's like fenced in, and now it seats 61,000. It's going to be loud with them bells. And I'm going to tell you this, in my opinion, I'm not a football expert. Georgia has to get off to a good start. And Mississippi State has a real good quarterback. I've been talking about him all show. I said if he stays healthy, he's going to be a good player, and that's Blake Sharpen, the transfer from Baylor. Back to you, Hart.
He's got 2,148 yards right now, 15 touchdowns. He's a quiet guy who the numbers, if they speak loud enough, and getting a win here would certainly change the respect that young man is due. I appreciate you mentioning him. You brought up the cowbells. The cicada bugs are so big, and there's so many of them there that they needed something to offset the sound of those big old bugs, and so they got the cowbells to hopefully shut those bugs up. But that's just one of those.
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, I've been there too. Played against Starkville, and it was in the middle of September, and it's Africa hot in Starkville. It was right there, man. It was unbelievable. Anyways, that was many years ago. Juan, I'm going to make an assumption here, and you know what you do when you make assumptions, but I'm going to assume that you are going to say that there is probably very little chance the Citadel will pull an upset this week and take on Ole Miss up there in Oxford, just up the road.
No chance. No. Ole Miss is they're firing on all cylinders. This right here is a warm-up game. Get your backups, your third-string guys, some experience in the event that, when you make this run to go for a national championship, some guys get hurt. So that's, again, this is just kind of a polish up on some different things type game.
4-5, the Citadel Bulldogs. They come in, they don't have a whole lot of stats. They don't have anyone on their roster that would be recruited for Ole Miss, do they? I mean, it's just a bunch of 2-stars in a 4- and 5-star world. Yeah, there are a lot of 3-stars on Ole Miss. Absolutely, every team has quite a few of them, but it's a stretch as well for the Citadel. But Citadel has some numbers. Let me give you a quick overview. They average 22.9 points a game, which isn't bad. Defense is okay. They're going against lower level. I don't think they have anywhere close to the speed in the secondary to be able to cover these guys. This is more of like a controlled scrimmage, even though it's a payday for Citadel. They'll make $1 million or maybe a little bit more. It'll help their athletic program, but I don't see them scoring more than 10 points.
I don't see them scoring any points.
None at all? All right.
None.
Fair enough. Vincent, how do you foresee the Bulldogs? Any chance at all for them just to get on the scoreboard?
They might score, I'd say, at least 10 points. But Ole Miss is rocking right now, man. It's kind of unusual that nobody's mentioned Trinidad Chambliss in the Heisman conversation. That guy's played real good football, man. In the Georgia loss, he was flawless all the way up to the fourth quarter. And against OU, University of Oklahoma, he was a superstar. And the thing I like about Ole Miss right now, yes, it's been a lot of rumors about where Lane Kiffin is going, but he's been able to keep that even keel, and that football team is playing at a high level. And like you said at the beginning, Harp, you said one thing that I remember what you said at the beginning of the year. You said Ole Miss receivers are the best group that I've seen up close and personal. And you said that they would be the best receiving core in the SEC. And I did my research before we came to the show tonight. Don't you know Ole Miss has got 5 receivers that's got close to 400 yards receiving? 5. And they got
Sharing the
Deuce
ball.
Alex.
They are
And
sharing the ball. You know what I mean? It's not just like at Ohio State where you got one guy when Jeremiah Smith, it gets all the touches or gets most of them. Their guys open all over the field. When they run deeper crossing routes, it is so hard to cover. It's a pick your guy.
hmm
It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Really is. And when you bring up Trinidad, let me go over his numbers real quick. He's already got 2,023 yards, but their commitment to the run, they've got 187 yards that they average per game, 36 points a game, which is 19th in the country. Defense is giving up 22. That's a part of their game that I don't know if they're going to be able to make it to the second or third level of the playoff. I just don't know. They're 46, which is kind of middle of the road for that. Vincent, your thoughts here? Let's just break down Ole Miss because the rankings are out now. We're going to start scrutinizing teams a little bit. We won't see enough of it against the Citadel to really make a definitive answer. But this will be a time when the starters get a little bit of rest. The second, third guys are going to get some reps. They're going to get coached up. I mean, if you step with the left foot instead of your right, you're going to get hollered at. That's the way I see it. The discipline factor against the Citadel is what I see. Juan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a chance here. Do it the right way. Be consistent, just like we've told you to do. And they'll get mad at him so that they can, get their reps. And if they don't do it right against Citadel, but you know what? In their remaining games that they've got against, especially against Mississippi State in a couple of weeks, they're gonna be fighting like crazy for a higher seeding and a better spot.
Yeah, they're going to have to shore up their defense, and you made the great point that if they don't do that, then that's going to be trouble for them. And this is a team that gave up almost 30 something points to a Kentucky team who has been struggling offensively. They struggled against Texas. They also struggled against Auburn, although they did put up, a good deal of points on Tennessee's defense. If Ole Miss is serious about making a true run, they're going to have to shore up that defense. And this is another, again, controlled scrimmage to help them do some defensive things, maybe move some guys around.
Well, Citadel, if that's a win, they've got Florida after that, then a week off, and then they've got the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. I think they've done all the work right now. The catfish is on the fire. You don't want to burn it, but you want to make sure it's got another little bit that it needs to cook to get that golden brown. They're sitting pretty nice in terms of who they need to beat, unranked opponents. But you keep the motivation high, and then they got a chance. They're already in, but where they get seated, if they run the table, it'll be good to be a rebel, won't it, Vincent?
No question about it. It's like playing with house money. But I think they're going to have I'm going to say, an easy game against Florida because Florida has some talent. And then the Mississippi State game, that's going to be an in-state rivalry game, and that rivalry is very serious. Just ask the people in the state of Mississippi how serious it is between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Back to you, Hart.
Yep, I agree. But, one step at a time, and that's Citadel. This is a 1:00 game. This will be on the SEC Network. The previous game, the Georgia game, that'll be on ESPN, and that's at noon. Please forgive me for not announcing the time of that one. But for obvious reasons, the Georgia and Mississippi State game, that'll be an important one, nationally televised. Next, we're going to look at a couple of teams that are a little highly ranked. I'm surprised that this isn't getting a little more of a review, if you will. Missouri is number 22 in the country, and Texas A&M is number 3. They're the highest ranked team in the conference. They're undefeated. Everything about what they're doing right now, they're 5-0 at home. They're 3-0 on the road. But this is one of those big games. And Missouri coming off the bye last week, get a chance to maybe put in a couple of trick plays or some things that maybe A&M isn't ready for. But Juan, I'll start with you. I think from here on out, heavy-duty dissecting by the press, by the media, by the networks to say who is this A&M team and why are they above Alabama and Georgia, and what have they shown people up to this point that's got them ranked ahead of them. There's some folks that don't know a whole heck of a lot about A&M. Give me your impression about what has impressed you and why they are number 3 right now in the country.
Well, first and foremost, it's their defense. Their defense, they play lights out on defense, and then you then turn to their offense. I mean, good gracious, Marcel Reed is just absolutely outstanding. He extends plays. They have a great running game. So you put all those together, and even special teams. But this is a separation Saturday, especially for Missouri. Missouri falls, and they're completely out. If Texas A&M continues to win this game, I mean, they're basically going to be walking into the SEC championship. Right now, the only undefeated is going to be Alabama. So Alabama has they have a straight path towards the SEC championship. So right now, they're playing for an SEC championship bid, and they want to face anybody in the SEC to kind of prove to the world, hey, we are here and we're serious about our football.
Well, you mentioned the defense. Let's give a little credit. Juan, I'll give you a chance to do so before we go to Vincent. I just want to pull a stat up for you. In terms of the number 22 Tigers, obviously I'm talking about Missouri right here. They're 24th in the nation in terms of their scoring at 35.4 points a game. And defensively, they're only giving up 16.8. A&M is giving up 23.8. They're 59. They're kind of in the middle in terms of just the national rankings. What does Missouri have to do if this is an upset, even consideration? I know you didn't. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but just give me your perspective about what Missouri needs to do to be able to make this a close game or have a chance to win it at the end.
Well, they have to contain Marcel Reed first and foremost. I mean, if they can't do that, then they're going to have a problem. But they're also going to have to score points and score them in gobs. I mean, you look at the last couple of games, and they've struggled a little bit. Even in the Auburn game, I mean, it took a last drive to even take it into overtime to make it 17-17. So they're going to have consistency on offense. They're going to have to run the ball well. But again, they're just going to have to defensively be prepared to play a little bit longer in the secondary. And those defensive rushers, they're going to have to rush a little bit more. So, and if they can do that, if they can keep it close, they're going to have an opportunity to pull the upset here.
And when you're talking about a team that is in complete and utter desperation to win, they still have 4 left, including this game, Vincent. Do you pull out all stops? Like Game 7 of the World Series or something like that, where everybody who's wearing a uniform has a chance to play in order to keep your playoff hope alive? Because I agree with Juan, if they lose, they're done. They're not going to take a 3-team, even though you're in the top 25. I think you'll drop out if you go 6-3. But 7-2, you still have a chance, don't you?
No question about it. It's a home game for the University of Missouri. Gentlemen, I'm not going to try to be disrespectful to both y'all opinions, but I just not sold on Texas A&M. Even though they had a great win against LSU, I go back to the previous years. When they arrived to this mountain, they seemingly to drop the ball. Now, Marcel Reed has played outstanding football. There's no question about it. They're ranked number 3, but they're going on the road. And Missouri lost their quarterback against Vanderbilt, but Missouri is a hard-nosed football team. So it's going to be interesting for me personally. One thing in this football game that Missouri hasn't done well over the last few weeks that they've known for in this season, they got an aircraft carrier in the backfield. His name is Armand Hardy, 937 yards on the year. And Missouri's they're not going to do anything different, especially with their quarterback now injured. They're going to pound the football. Now, Texas A&M is good in rushing the pass, so we saw that 2 weeks ago against LSU. But I'm asking 2 questions here. Is A&M got the forces up front to really handle Mr. Armand Hardy? And then, I know Texas A&M has had some big wins, but they played a little close against Florida. And you know why that I'm saying this, why I'm not sold on A&M? Think about when they played War Eagle and how that Auburn defense handled Mr. Marcel Reed. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on A&M. This is a game right here I want to see against Missouri with a good running back. Back to you, Mr. Harper LaBelle.
Hey, Juan, I know he asked us a couple of questions, but he did call us out too, didn't he? He said both of y'all. Didn't he say both of y'all? And then we got to pump the brakes. I'm telling you what, I don't know much about A&M. I'll be candid with you. And this is an unfamiliar, not unfamiliar, but it's not a spot that they are in each and every year. Bama, maybe. Georgia has been. This is new water that they're swimming in at Ole Miss. Texas is used to this, but Texas A&M. So Juan, before we go on to the next game, and by the way, this one starts at 3:30. It's an ABC game, so nationally this is a big game. So a lot of folks are going to be talking about it. But just from an average fan perspective, Juan, what will you be watching for? With no skin in the game, is there anything that would impress you either way if Missouri does something or isn't able to stop A&M from doing something? And the same question for A&M. If they do something or they're not able to stop Missouri from doing something, what is it in particular that you'd be watching for in this one?
Well, going back to what Vincent said and how Auburn was able to contain Marcel Reed, and if Missouri can do that, and Missouri's they are pretty good defensively. If they are able to do that, that would be very, very impressive, and that'll be something that I'll be looking at. Or will they let him just kind of run free? And then again, can Texas A&M stop the run? They have, again, Missouri has an excellent running back. Will they be able to shut down that run? So, and I'm also interested to see what the score is going to be, right? Texas A&M will go and they shut Auburn down and, allow Auburn to score 10 points, but then turn around and give up 42 to Arkansas. So you're just kind of like they are, they're kind of a Jekyll and Hyde defense. So I wonder what the final score is going to be.
Yeah, is it going to be 7-6 at the halftime, or is it going to be 35-32? Or whatever it turns out to be. Interesting perspective there on that. Any final thoughts, Vincent, before we move on to the next one?
No, like I said, I want to see is this a real Texas A&M team that we're talking about, number 3 in the country. You brought up a good point, Hop. They have never really been in this situation year in and year out. But we're going to find out on Saturday, are they the true number 3 team in the country? Back to you, Hop.
Yeah, with the record at 8-0, you earn that spot regardless. But if Georgia were 8-0 or any of the teams, they'd be higher than what they are right now. So anyways, we'll find out. This again is a 3:30 kick. It'll be on ABC. Next game that we're going to look at, Vincent, I'm going to start with you. Auburn at 4-5. They're 1-5 in the conference. Goes against 7-2 and number 16th ranked the Vanderbilt Commodores. This game will be in Nashville, and Diego Pavia has surpassed now the 2,000 yards. There are very few quarterbacks, but there's a couple, but not a whole heck of a lot. 18 touchdowns for the young man, so he's just slinging it. They're 55th in terms of the amount of yards that they average per game at 245 in terms of the ranking. 187 on the ground. That's 33rd. I think that what surprises me out of that number, Vincent, is even though we look at Diego as being the guy and all the hype around him and the court decisions and everything coming back for an extra year, they can still run the ball. They're 13th in the nation scoring, and they're 31st in the nation in terms of stopping points against defensively. I'm starting to believe a little bit more than I used to that Vanderbilt, this is not a flash in the pan. There's some sizzle there, but they also have some meat, and they are playing well, and they believe in themselves in a way that a Vanderbilt team hasn't in many years.
No question about it. Diego said before the season started, he said at the SEC Media Days that we expect to be here. And we're going to be a very good football team. And what I didn't know that you brought to my attention, Harper, how many grad players did they have?
They had 22 guys on their roster that have a G next to it, meaning they've already graduated and they're getting one more year.
See, that's an experienced football team that's played a lot of games. And they really know the situations and got a lot of football behind them. And when you got an experienced football team like that with a quarterback like that, you're going to be dangerous. But I will say this. I still say Auburn is the best 4-5 team in the country. Their defense is still one of the top, I want to say top 20. I don't know their ranking. And remember this, Auburn, I'm going to go back to the Texas A&M game, how they defended Marcel Reed. And if I had to say one thing going into this football game, if Auburn's offensive line plays somewhat a little bit better, Auburn is going to be in this football game. They're playing with house money. The coaches got fired. And I'm going to tell you, to the War Eagle faithful, until you're special, your offensive line, I'm going to look in the screen tonight. If you give your quarterback time, y'all can be in this football game. Go back and look at the game film of Mr. Daniels against Colorado last year. He can throw the football, and he got studs on the outside. To me, that's where the game is going to be run. Auburn's defense is going to contain Diego on some of them runs and scrambles that he ain't had here recently against Texas last week. Nah, War Eagle defense can fly to the ball. They got some NFL stars out there. Keon Crawford, Rashawn Pleasant, Kendrick Falk. Check the draft boards. All those young men are rated in the top 100s NFL draft prospects. The only disappointing thing about Auburn is that I don't understand Hugh Freeze and his decisions with the quarterback over the last few years. If he would have more or less, especially this year after I'm going to say the Oklahoma game, I would have made a change. Then we might not even be talking about him losing his job. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a very close football game myself personally. Back to you, Mr. Harper LaBelle.
Well, appreciate that. And Juan, I'm going to ask you to do me a slight favor. Just be a little patient with me. Let's talk about Vanderbilt first, if you don't mind. We'll talk about the War Eagle and everything that you know and are aware of regarding the Tigers. But in the NCAA basketball tournament, when I was a kid, I used to always be interested, and I've used this example before, of how Wichita State gets there in the first place and wins their first two games and gets into the Sweet 16, or if they get to advance. And there's been other teams, Valparaiso, Drexel, Dayton gets in every once in a while. Princeton will get in there. The advantage that they have over most of the schools, and especially now, is Kentucky has a bunch of one and dones, but they have a bunch of seniors. And then the next year you see, oh, there's some juniors that were on that Wichita State from last year that they're playing as well. And they may not get to the Final Four, but the experience of the senior, junior / the leadership that they bring, I think there's a critical component of that that's missing in football, where most juniors, if you're any good at all, and Vincent just told us how many War Eagles are in the top 100 in terms of the draft class. But just give me your perspective on, here's a bunch of guys, they may never get a chance to be drafted. They may not even get to go to a combine or a workout at the school. So this is their ability to stick together, play hard, go to the weight room, run, stay in shape, watch some film, and make the best of my college days that I possibly can. That can be an impenetrable force at some occasions, and it's certainly clicking at the right time for Vanderbilt.
It's that blue collar syndrome. You just take a look at, again, these guys that they grab their lunch pail, they put their hats on, and they just go and work a full 8 to 10 hours, and they come home and they just get back up and they just go and do it again. And that's the mentality that Clark Lee has. And so he's built a foundation. And to your point earlier, Harper, it's not a flash in the pan. I just think that he's setting a foundation with a group of guys to say, hey, come to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is no longer the armpit of the SEC. We have something special going on. And again, you guys are graduates, and imagine, getting an opportunity to get an additional degree from, a prestigious university like Vanderbilt. He's got them believing. It's a renewed, energy that they have in Nashville for this football team. And listen, they buy in and they're all for it.
Yeah. And you're going to be there. You're going to get to go. I think you'll be surprised at how much leather is in the end zone, because the leather seats and the luxury box attitude, it's really high. You're closer to the stadium in some respects. It's not a big stadium. So it almost looks like an indoor venue for a rock concert in some respects. The middle isn't the student section, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't have a roof on it. That's what I mean. They could play basketball in there. It almost is that small, but you'll get to see for yourself. Now, tell me from the War Eagle Nation perspective. Look, guys, we had some issues, we had some problems, but now it's time to turn it around and keep it turned. Let's not go back. Describe a little bit of that type of, we better fight hard for ourselves and for the school in a way that it's critical right now for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Let's get the win here while we're on the road at Vandy.
They're playing for Auburn pride, and to them, even though you look at the record, the season may be shot. It's not shot for them. They still have an opportunity to go and play for a bowl game. They still have an opportunity to knock someone out of the playoffs, and they have a lot to fight for. They have a lot of pride. You've got to Vincent's point, when you got the Kendrick Falks and Kieran and all of those guys, listen, they are fighting because this is their last season. This is it for them. This is like the memories that they're going to have. Are we going to go out as we just kind of flaked out, or are we going to go out giving it everything that we have? And they're also going to play hard for DJ Durkin, the defensive coordinator that's the interim head coach. And I'm telling you, there's nothing more dangerous than a team that just lost their coach. I mean, you even look at Florida and the fight that they put up against a really good Georgia team. And, they had their opportunities. They had their chances. You look at Arkansas. Arkansas lost their coach in the fight that they put up against Auburn when we played Auburn. So, we played Arkansas. So, they got a lot of pride. The fans are just diehard fans no matter what. They're going to travel. They support their Auburn Tigers. And so you best believe that Vanderbilt's going to get everything that Auburn has on Saturday.
All right. Before we move on to the next one, just for those who weren't paying attention, in the middle of the season, Auburn has had to play at Oklahoma, who is number 11 in the country, then the following week at A&M, and then the following week, number 10, Georgia. By the way, A&M was number 9 at that time. Then they go against Missouri. They got to go on the road again to Arkansas. They get a win there by 9, and then they lose to Kentucky 10-3. So, and then number 16, Vanderbilt, they get Mercer a week off, and then they got to go against number 4. Their schedule has been about as tough. I've said that if I was a Gator or a Gamecock, I'd want to sue the SEC for making my schedule so much harder than anybody else. But Auburn may want to be a part of that class action lawsuit, right? Tough schedule.
They are definitely battle tested. And the good thing about it is they were in every single game. So it wasn't as if, they went on the road and got completely blown out. They had opportunities to go and win. And I think we talked about it in that stretch with Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia. They had, 6 or 7 opportunities to either win or tie the football game. And so they were very close. Unfortunately, they just didn't pull it out. But I appreciate what Vince said is that right now Auburn's probably the best 4 or 5 football team in the country.
Yeah, their biggest loss in the 5 that they've had in the past 6 weeks is 10 points, right? Mm-hmm. And their biggest win was 9, but they lose by 7 in a couple of those games, and 5 in a couple, by 6 in one. So there's you're right, and that they're in the game. They're within a score, and maybe a 2-point conversion of winning at least 3 of those, but they didn't. And they're in the mess that they're in right now because of what happened. And guess what? We're going to try to do the best we can to get ourselves out of that. And what a great way to turn the season around by at least getting to go to a bowl game. So I think there'll be some extra determination to go there to Nashville. And you'll be there. So we'll find out a little bit more about it next week. But for right now, let's keep the show moving, guys. Let's look at our next game. We're going to look at one that, earlier in the year, this would have been one of those highlight games that you stop what you're doing to check out what LSU and Alabama are going to be doing. This is in Tuscaloosa at 7:30 on ESPN. You've got the number 4 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide going against a school that, even though they're 5-3, there's a lot going on. Vincent, we'll start with you. A lot going on in the Bayou.
I want y'all gentlemen to listen to this. When we kicked off the season, LSU was what? Top 5 in the top 5. They had the opening win over Clemson. Garrett Nussmeier on some draft boards was listed as the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Then look at Alabama. They lost their first game of the season to Florida State. We know what came from that. Caleb DeBoer might even not last to mid-season. Folks in Tuscaloosa losing their mind. But look what's going to happen Saturday night. I was on the NFL draft board. Walters draft board, one of the top sites, and they had Ty Simpson as their number 1 quarterback. And I looked at another website, and they had Ty Simpson as the favorite to win the Heisman. How do times change? But I'm going to say this. I expect Alabama's going to roll on Saturday night. I expect Ty Simpson is going to play at a high level. I got a lot of respect for the University of Alabama and their football team this year. And Ty Simpson, because he had to wait 4 years to get his opportunity. And coming behind Jalen Milroe and the success that Alabama's had, and losing that first game against Florida State, they don't build you no better than that. That's a true warrior. And the only thing I can say is I'm very proud of the state of Tennessee because I got to build my chest. Don't nobody get jealous tonight because Ty Simpson is from Martin, Tennessee, baby. 80 miles west of Memphis. Stop looking, Harper. I see you over there looking. Back to you, sir.
It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to do some chest pounding about Tennessee, even though they're not even in the conversation. That's I love it. All right, let's go a little bit serious here with Alabama. Vincent brings up a great point. There were nooses, there were guillotines, there were blades being sharpened, there were guns being loaded. And I'm teasing. I'm just figuratively saying there were some very angry Roll Tide fans that
Mhm.
I believe have softened quite a bit. And now they're pumping out their chest. You see, it took that loss to get us rolling. But right now, the Tide is one of the most dangerous teams in the country. Are they not, Juan?
100%. They're playing some really, really good football, and they have resilience. They were down against South Carolina. South Carolina had them dead to rights, and you thought that game was over, but they willed themselves to come back and pull that game out. So they've been battle tested. They've played a good Georgia football team. They've played Vanderbilt. They've played Missouri. I mean, they've played everybody that's of significance, as of right now. Ty Simpson has been very, very consistent. He's done exactly what he's supposed to do, playing within the system. And to Vince's point, him being patient. I mean, you go there and you're behind Bryce Young, and then after that, Jalen Milroe. And think about where he's come from, because they benched Jalen Milroe last year, put Ty Simpson in. Unfortunately, he was not able to do very well. So then they benched Ty Simpson and put Jalen Milroe back. So for him to have that confidence to continue to stay at Alabama and stay the course and then do what he's doing right now, it shows a lot. This is a very good Alabama football team.
I'm going to look at a couple stats up. And are you surprised that they're throwing for 291 yards? They're number 15 in the nation through the air, but they're only getting 118 yards on the ground. They're 114th. That's not traditional Alabama football. That's Caleb DeBoer, football. They're 34 points a game is ranked in the top 30, which I think that's about right for Alabama. They give up 18 and they're in the top 20. So there are some numbers that do make sense, but that rushing number, is that going to be a critical factor as you go into the playoff, that they are not as good as they've been in the past? Juan, I'll start with you.
Well, listen, you got Ryan Williams. So Ryan Williams helps, and you've got to double him. You got another receiver that's on the other side as well that are outstanding. So their receiving core helps them to give Jam Miller some running lanes. I think it's going to be an even balance. So they pass heavy first, and then they continue to run closer to the end of the game. So I think it'll work out well for them. I mean, historically, you take a look at those other teams, even when they had Tua and they had those three dynamic receivers, they didn't run the ball very well, but they did. They were able to move the ball, and when they needed to run, they were able to do so.
Yeah, their passing game is surprising to me, better than I expected. That's what I mean. I with all due respect, I would expect it to be a little more 50-50. It doesn't need to be, and if we can throw the ball well, why are we going to stop? Vincent, give me your thoughts, either offensively or defensively. What sticks out for you right now with Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois? That's the money game for them, and then they've got Auburn. We're not sure if that's a Thursday or Friday yet. It's still to be determined. But what do you expect here at 7:30 on ABC?
I got to tell you the truth. I got to be the most impressive thing about Alabama, like y'all said, is their passing game. It's been proficient. I think Ryan Grubb coming back from Seattle, the 1 year in the NFL, getting back with Caleb DeBoer, it almost seemed like Michael Penix too when he was at the University of Washington. And Ty Simpson was really been very impressive to me. He's been very accurate with the football on all levels of the field, to the tight end, to the outstanding receivers. And I think in the upcoming games, I wouldn't too much worry about Alabama's running game because Jam Miller's been hurt a lot this year. He came back. I think the Georgia game was his first game back. So he's going to get healthy. And I think Alabama's going to turn it up a little bit running the football. But what's been really impressive has been Ryan Grubb, the OC, and Ty Simpson being on the same level, and Ty Simpson has been very accurate with the football. I think what he has on the year, Hop, if you can look it up, I think he got what 20 touchdowns and one interception. At
Yeah,
this time in the year, that's very impressive. One interception. What does that tell you, gentlemen? He's protecting the football.
yeah.
And when you don't turn the football over, your team is going to have an excellent chance to win every game.
Yep, it's not the highest number, but it sticks out amongst the highest. To where even if you don't know much about this young man, he's quietly led this team
Hmm.
to a spot where after that Florida State game, they lose that. They score 70 against UL Monroe. Then they got Wisconsin, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma. That's another. It's a tough schedule. Don't tell me it's not. Then they get Eastern Illinois and then Auburn there at the end, their rivalry game. But they've been quietly impressive. I don't hear Stephen A. and the folks on the Four Letter Network screaming about him and Paul Feinbaum. Let them say what they will. But they're impressing me because they're impressing themselves. I think they got everything turned around, and it's good to be a member of the Crimson Tide right now. Am I wrong? Either of you guys? Am I wrong with that?
No question about it.
You're in a good spot, and again, this is a game where a couple of years ago there'd be 300,000 people. No, there wouldn't. You can only get 110,000 in that stadium. No, there's 200,000 people outside that just want to be able to say I was there. That's how goofy SEC football can be at times. It's amazing how that little flat land there in Tuscaloosa will be taken over by locals and Bayou Bengals as well. They don't like each other. But they sure get along well when there's a beer and something on the barbecue. So there we go again, 7:30. That to me is one of the feature games on ABC. Next, we're going to look at SEC Network. Another 7:30 kick. Florida at 3-5 goes to Kentucky. Wildcats are 3-5 as well. They're 1-5 in the conference. We'll end with this one. Vincent, we'll start with you. The Kentucky Wildcats have a chance to do something. In terms of getting to a bowl game, they've got to beat Florida. This will be a nice little mark on their bedpost in terms of the seniors, and there are a couple of really important games. I think this is one for them, and obviously, if they don't win this one, they're really striking themselves. They're kicking themselves in the foot for getting to a bowl game. They absolutely need this.
No question about it, because my interesting question that I have, if Kentucky loses this football game, do we see another coach fall? Mark Stoops. They say that natives up there in Lexington are really kind of getting tired of him. They realizing that he can't win at the level they want to win. And the thing about this game is that we already know Florida has a very good talented football team. So to me, Kentucky, you lose this game, what's the situation going to be with Mark Stoops? Is he going to be out or is he going to be in? And that's how I see it. I mean, basically, this is a huge game for Kentucky. He wins, he probably gonna keep his job. Kentucky ends. I think they end. I don't know their schedule, who they end with, but at the end of the day, they lose this game. Maybe we're gonna be talking about another coach getting the pink slip. Back to you, Hawk.
Well, you mentioned their schedule. It went Toledo, which they won handily 24-16. They lose to Ole Miss. They win against Eastern Michigan. Then they got South Carolina. Remember, South Carolina, they weren't ranked at the time, but everybody was saying, watch out for these Gamecocks. They could be good. Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, Auburn last week, Florida, Tennessee Tech, Vanderbilt, and then they finish against Louisville. Kentucky and Louisville, that's more of a state rivalry. It's kind of like Georgia Tech. I think it's great for the fans in the area, but they've had a tough schedule themselves. Juan, give me your opinion here on Kentucky.
This will be Mark Stoops' last game, and the Kentucky natives, they're going to be searching for a new head coach. The way that Florida played against Georgia last week, they right now are on a mission, and Kentucky is in their way. They're fighting for a bowl game, and what better way to bolster those chances than by not only just beating Kentucky, but beating them pretty bad offensively. Florida's I think they're going to go up and down the field, and I just don't see Kentucky scoring very many points against Florida this week.
Okay, very interesting. Florida finishes the season with Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and then Florida State. They also have a interstate rivalry that they'll be ending the season with. But the two games after this one here in Kentucky, those are a handful for obvious reasons. With Ole Miss and Tennessee fight for their lives, and they're circling their calendars. Hey, we got to beat Florida. So very competitive weekend. Guys, let's look at the standings here. Texas A&M, Alabama are atop in terms of the conference only. They're both undefeated. At 5-1, you've got Georgia and Ole Miss. At 4-1, you've got Texas, and then Oklahoma and Vanderbilt are 3-2 in the conference. Tennessee is 3-3. Missouri is 2-2. LSU is 2-3, along with Florida. At 1 win is Mississippi State. They were 1-4. Kentucky is 1-5. Auburn is 1-5. South Carolina 1-6, and Arkansas has yet to win an SEC game. They are 0-5. Final thoughts here. Juan, we'll start with you.
Listen, and I'll go back to what Vince said. This is the best conference in college football, hands down. And it's scary because as these games are going to start, going down, the season goes down, it goes from 9 SEC teams in the top 25 to where it's going to be down, and it's going to be whittled down, pretty significantly. But right now, it's going to be Separation Saturday. This is survival mode. Right now, teams are starting to play for the highest ranked, playoff spot. You've got Alabama and Texas A&M that are going to try to keep trucking so that they can play each other in the SEC championship. The winner automatically goes. The loser, is going to be in as well. So again, a lot of teams right now, it's coming down to it. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Completely agree. The 13th team, that's the one that's not in, right now with the way the rankings are, could be Utah or Virginia, Louisville, but then you've got Vanderbilt, you've got Missouri, you've got Tennessee, that if they keep winning, they've got an ability to make that argument. Hey, you should put us in. Just like last year, you had Florida, you had South Carolina, especially just begging. You had Ole Miss begging, we're good enough. We should be there. But you got to keep winning. Vincent, final thoughts here from you.
You just mentioned the magic point. You got to keep winning. Week in and week out, it's going to get tougher. There's 2 teams I want to see how they're going to be really playing this weekend. That's Georgia going down to Stockville, Mississippi. Georgia, as Juan Daniels just said, they got to get off to a good start offensively. You cannot keep struggling in these games and expect to win. That's going to be on my eyesight when I look at that game on Saturday. And then, of course, Texas A&M and Missouri. A&M, you never been there. And if you go over the seasons, I don't care who you had as the head coach, from Jackie Sherrill to Jimbo Fisher to now Mike Elko. Every time y'all in this position, y'all seemingly don't never close the door. That's going to be a huge football game, in my opinion, how I judge Texas A&M. They come away with a win, and I say, the 12th man has arrived. But if you lose that football game, then it's going to be going back to history, repeat itself. Just look at the history of Texas A&M. To me, that's the biggest football game of the day. What's going to happen in Columbia, Missouri. Back to you, Mr. Harper LaBelle.
Well, before we go, let's take a look at the top 10. The top 5 in both polls, the college football rankings poll and the top 25 in the AP, are identical. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Alabama, and then Georgia. They're identical in both of them. The teams are in different orders, but it's still the same five teams. In that, let's go with the playoff. It's Ole Miss, then BYU, Texas Tech, Oregon, and Notre Dame. Outside of that, the teams start to change, and the rankings are a little bit different. But your top 10. Guys, it's still very early. There's 4 weeks left before anything is finalized. But is there anyone that you go, yeah, they should be here, and maybe they're going to move up? Is there anyone here going, I think it's going to be one loss and they'll be out for good? Is there anything amongst those top 10 that are an issue for either of you guys? Juan, I'll start with you.
Ole Miss. I mean, I think Ole Miss will be that team that I just think that they're going to catch fire. They're going to catch fire late. Lane Kiffin is going to have them ready. They missed out last year, and you can best believe if they get their foot in the door, they're really going to catch fire.
Yeah. Vincent, how about you? Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas Tech, BYU, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, A&M, Indiana, and Ohio State in reverse order from 10 to 1.
That's the ranking of the top 10?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't bring up the college football playoff rankings and the seedings.
I just read that. That's what I did. That the college football rankings right now from 10-1 are what I just read off.
Oh,
Yes.
10-1. Oh, you didn't go to full 12 teams because you didn't mention the 12th team that I'm extremely proud of. That if we had the college football playoff today, they'd be going to Athens, Georgia. Don't have that look on your face, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. But that being said, I'm happy with everything as far as football. But kudos, I know this is a SEC show. I got several calls from my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. Put respect on the University of Memphis Tigers, and I'm happy. Great show tonight. Each team, I'm happy for you. I'm not worried about nobody getting in, but if my Tigers get in, the roof is gonna explode, and y'all know that. Bum bum ba bum ba bum 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 ba bum. I've been saying that on all shows this week, and a lot of my cohorts that I love have been looking at me crazy, like they say they tired of Vincent saying that. But Memphis doesn't get there quite often, so you know I got to be ecstatic. Back to
Right.
you, Mr. LaBelle.
They're 8-1, and we've got 3 more games for them to figure out. You know, if they win all 3 of them, they might be a part of that at-large group that Notre Dame is taking. Gosh, if Notre Dame loses, that opens up for so many other schools. But okay, I'll read them off real quick. Number 11, Texas. 12, Oklahoma. 13 is Utah. 14 is Virginia. 15 is Louisville. 16 is Vanderbilt. Georgia Tech dropped because of their loss. They're 17 right now. Miami, remember, Miami is in the top 3 throughout the first part of the year. USC is at 19. I'm sorry, Miami 18. Iowa we're still talking about Iowa for some reason. They're at 6-2. Michigan at 7-2. Missouri, another SEC school. Washington, Pitt, and then Tennessee is 6-3, and they're ranked number 25 so far. So a very interesting perspective. We appreciate your patience for looking at it with us. For Juan Daniels, the former Bulldog, the current Auburn Tiger, for the former Pig Suey Arkansas Razorback Go Fight win, we're going to talk about SEC football till the end of the season. And Vincent Turner and I and Juan Daniels will be joining you each and every week. We appreciate you being a part of the show, everybody. We hope you have a fantastic